Now then, let's get more on the crisis in Gaza. The Secretary-General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, has called for an immediate halt to what he calls unacceptable violence there. We can speak to our correspondent at the UN, Matt Wells. Matt, pretty strong words from the UN Secretary-General.
They were strong words, uncharacteristically strong from somebody who's been accused in his past as Secretary-General of being perhaps a little bit too diplomatic, but he really weighed in quite forcefully today. He said, of course, that the attacks by Hamas into southern Israel with rockets couldn't continue. They were clearly very much part of the problem, but he also said that Israel was, in effect, guilty of using excessive force in retaliation. He said that the Israeli attacks and the other violence from Hamas had to stop as soon as possible. And let's hear a little bit more of what he had to say earlier today.
All this must stop. Both Israel and Hamas must halt their acts of violence and take all necessary measures to avoid civilian casualties. A ceasefire must be declared immediately. They must also curb their inflammatory rhetoric. Only then can dialogue start. I think regional and international partners have not done enough. They should do more. They should use all possible means to end the violence and encourage a political dialogue, emphasizing peaceful ways of resolving differences. Arab foreign ministers are going to meet soon in emergency session. I urge them to act swiftly and decisively to bring an early end to this impasse.
The Secretary-General there was referring to the Arab League meeting, which is due to happen on Wednesday, and a representative from there and from the Palestinian side were just giving a press conference here, or talking to journalists anyway here a few minutes ago, and they were saying that really they've been doing all they could to try and alleviate the crisis, and they're calling now on the Security Council, which met at the weekend, to do more in terms of taking practical steps to put pressure on Israel to end its bombardments.
And what are the chances of the Security Council doing very much more about this? I mean, given the United States' pretty steadfast support for Israel.
Exactly. I mean, the problem is that the Security Council automatically fractures over any issue involving the Middle East and Israel and Palestinian relations. Israel's backed very much by the strong, almost unequivocal support of the United States, and the other main powers do seem to have come together and created at least some sort of unanimity around this idea of calling for an end to the violence. But there is clearly an awful lot more diplomacy to come, and it will all be very much dependent on what happens on the ground.
OK, Matt, thank you very much indeed. Matt Wells there at the UN.